Battery to boot conversion. The first thing to do was to remove the battery and the battery tray. The positive wire from the battery was connected to both the fuse box and the starter motor. Undecided on where to locate the battery in the boot, we ordered cable that was long enough to suit either location. The cable was the thickest that we would be able to fit and was 40mm 300 amp battery cable. By dividing off some of the existing loom in the trunking, we were able to leave enough room for the new cable to fit. The cable was then fed out to the front wing. With the wheel arch liner removed, a rubber grommet was also removed, and the cable was passed through into the wing. The rubber grommet was then used as a seal, with conduit used to protect the cable. The cable was then fed through a hole into the engine bay. The battery cable was now going to be connected directly to the fuse box, and a separate piece of cable would be fed from the fuse box to the starter motor. The starter motor cable had an end terminal soldered to it and was fitted with some heat shrink, then fastened into place. The old earth connection for the battery was cut off, but still as to allow the engine to remain earthed to the car body. The cables were then fastened up inside the wheel arch before refitting the wheel arch liner. The cable could now be fitted towards the rear of the car, first through the gap created in the trunking earlier, then pass through the second section of trunking and into the rear of the car. The main cable was now fed into the boot, and as you can see was long enough to use in either location. The battery's earth cable should be kept as short as possible. We found the seat mounting point was conveniently located. It was decided the battery was to be fitted where the toolkit used to be located. With both positive and negative cables now fitted through to the boot area, the rear seat base was put back in place. A small shelf was to be made to help fit the battery to the uneven surfaces. A cardboard template was used before cutting the shapes out of aluminium sheet. Clamped and riveted together, we also designed the shelf so that it in turn would clamp the battery to it. With holes cut into the bottom of the battery box, this would be a very secure way of fitting the battery in the box. Holes were drilled in the car boot, taking into account the location of the petrol tank. The shelf was then bolted into place inside the boot, and the battery box tested in its place too. The cables were cut to length, and cable ends were crimped in place using a special crimping tool. As the toolkit holder would no longer go back in its place, a rectangle was cut out from it. The polystyrene holder was placed around the battery box, and the battery box was bolted into place. The battery was then inserted, cables connected and clamped in place. The polystyrene would stop the carpet from sagging in the area around the battery box. And there we have it, the battery happy in its new home. The car jack and tools were put inside the spare wheel, keeping the boot space nice and neat. Thanks, bye.